This is the Eufy SoloCam S340, and in my opinion, it is peak smart home security technology, and that is not an understatement. Now, I've been using Eufy security cameras as the bulk of my security system for the past year or so, and I've slowly added to them as I've gone along. I started originally with the S330s, adding in an extra cam 2 that runs on an external solar panel, and I've even added the doorbell, which is part of their dual lens system, giving me both a view of the porch and the floor. Now that is meant to be for packages, but it also means that I can see if anyone's holding any of the Studio Reviews team hostage just below the camera, something which most doorbells wouldn't let you see.
Hello, is anyone home? Shut up.
The S340 is one of the newest additions to their dual lens range, and is quite possibly their most powerful camera that they've ever made. Now, the lenses it uses are a 3K wide angle with a 135-degree field of view, which is the same FOV as the S330 cameras. And this is great for getting a really wide view of the environment that you position it in. The second lens, however, is a 2K zoom lens with a hybrid zoom of up to 8 times. Now, the hybrid zoom means that you have essentially an optical zoom, which is done with the lens itself, and this is 3 times. And then it has the ability to zoom in further digitally. Now, this second lens makes this a bit of a game changer because I can now not only just see the person that's on the driveway, but I have a really, really clear view or image of what that person looks like. And because the optical zoom runs at the same time, I can record both the zoom and a wide and get extremely good coverage of every situation. And from a security standpoint, this will functionally help you identify people easier or even see things like registration plates with more clarity, all without having a separate camera. And to show you just how useful this secondary lens is, I thought I'd demonstrate it by giving it an eye test. Now, you can see at this point the letters on the upper side of the chart are quite visible on both the wide angle and the zoom lens. As we get further down, the letters become less readable on the wide angle, so using the zoom lens you can see the massive difference it makes. Now, I was completely sold by the doorbell having a lower camera for package detection, but I never really knew that I wanted dual lenses on my wall mounting cameras. But now, having been introduced to the idea by the S340, I'm seriously considering changing all of my cameras for this style. But the thing is, the real reason this has blown me away isn't the addition of the secondary lens. That particular function pales in comparison to what I'm about to show you. What has really blown me away is the 360-degree AI tracking that this is capable of. Now, whenever it detects motion, it will use the onboard AI to track the subject, following it wherever that subject goes on the property, as long as it can see it. And this includes almost directly underneath it as well. It's kind of scary watching it follow you around. It's like having your own sort of security team working day and night for you, or a semi-sentient robot that's always watching you. It's even more alarming at night when the spotlight beams on you and then proceeds to follow you around. This in itself is probably enough deterrent without the fact that it has 2 dual lenses eyeballing your face in the dead of night like some sort of night stalker. And to boot, talking about alarming, this also includes a particularly audible alarm that can be set to go off if it triggers movement, which is superbly handy. Right. Let's test the alarm. I haven't actually tested it on this one, and it is a slightly bigger body than some of the other cameras we've tried, so it might actually be a bit louder. Let's give it a go. Bloody hell! That's actually really loud. I'm going to stop that before my ears start bleeding. That's pretty good. Now, moving back to the spotlight, it's actually proved more useful than just being a scary security feature. It's actually handy for me because we live in a dark skies area, which means there's no lights on, no street lights. So when I'm walking across the drive to the garden office, it detects me and then follows me with the spotlight, lighting my way as I go. So I won't need to ever bring a torch with me. It's probably quite a niche benefit, but it's certainly something that I found really useful that I didn't really expect. Now, within the app, you can set up preset locations that you can then tap to view, and you can also do a 360-degree sweep with it as well. You can change the tracking speed of the movement too, although I'm not sure why you'd want to change this speed other than from the fastest available option. So this setting does seem a little bit redundant, but to show you how fast it can track a subject, I thought I'd try and have a bit of a run and race it. Now you're going to need to excuse the sorry state of my health, but I'm going to completely blame this on the fact that I'm wearing wellies. Even though I'm running possibly faster than Usain Bolt, you'll see quite clearly that it's keeping up. I'm really genuinely impressed by how well this works. This piece of hardware is just so impressive. Well, not this piece of hardware, this is an empty box. The camera's actually still up. But there's one more hardware aspect that I need to give Eufy a real big round of applause for, and that's the inclusion of the solar panel hat. Now, this might not be as sleek as their S330 or S220 cameras, both of which I applauded the solar integration for, but it earns a hell of a lot of slack when you see how efficient this is at charging the camera. Now, Eufy say it's got an improvement of 1.5 times greater than their old designs, but I'm telling you now, I'm almost convinced that it's better than what they're letting on. I mean, this thing even charges on the most overcast, cloudy day you could possibly imagine. Take a look at this. See that there? That shows that it's charging using the solar panel right there. You tell me where the sun is. How good is that? Seriously, it's the middle of November in Wales where the sun hasn't been seen since 1972, and over the past 30 days the S340 has gained more battery than it's used, even in these conditions and in areas where there's been a hell of a lot of events triggered. So this increase in efficiency really isn't some marketing hokey pokey from Eufy. In fact, I'd go as far as saying that they've massively understated how good the solar charging is on the S340. Comparatively, I've found that with the S220 and S330 cameras that have the integrated panel, when it gets to about midwinter, around January, February, I'll generally need to pull them down and give them a quick top-up charge, especially the ones that cover the front of the house that get the most traffic. But I'm pretty certain that even if you lived in the darkest abyss, you'd still have enough light to power this thing forever. And it gets a round of applause for that. Now, although it can theoretically run forever, it doesn't have unlimited storage, although it does feature 8GB of onboard storage, which is okay. But I guess dependent on the footfall or traffic of the area that's in, it could fill up quite fast. Fortunately, it pairs up super nicely with the Homebase 3, which you can equip with an internal hard drive to save your footage locally too. And not only this, but if you do pair it up to a Homebase 3 rather than working on its own, it actually gives you access to a lot more AI features such as facial recognition, so that your notifications will tell you not just that someone is on the drive or at the door, it actually tells you who is at the door or on the drive too. Now, I've covered the Homebase 3 in my original review of the S330 camera system, so if you want to find out more about that and what it can offer, go and take a look at that episode. But I think it's a great touch that this can work with or without it. But I will say though, if you want to get the most out of your Eufy cameras, then I would seriously consider buying the Homebase 3. If not for the more advanced AI features, do it so that you have a bigger local storage to store your footage to securely. And talking about secure footage, all of the footage is stored locally, as I mentioned, whether that's on device or with the Homebase. However, if you wanted a cloud backup, Eufy offer this as either a 10 camera system or, what I think is great, an on camera by camera basis, which is only $2.99 a month, which is not bad for a peace of mind. But what I've always loved about Eufy is that you don't need the subscription for this to have the best possible functions. This has always been in stark contrast to manufacturers who hide the simplest of AI features behind a paywall. And one of the reasons that I've walked away from nearly every dedicated security camera system that I've tested so far, except Eufy. Do you know what? Like much of the Eufy kit, I don't really have a lot of criticism when it comes to the functionality and form of them. They're all really well designed and well built, and the functionality is top tier like everything else that pairs with the Homebase 3. Now, there's certainly one software request that I have, which would be the ability to set this on a perpetual movement cycle. As it is, It will only move if you manually control it within the app or if it detects movement with its AI, at which point it will track the movement. But it would be awesome if I could set it to cycle between predefined intervals between preset locations. Fortunately, that's just a software request, so they could add this at a later point. But the only one hardware thing that I would mention is that although the lowest viewing angle is directly below it, the highest viewing angle is, well, low. I have this fixed at a height equivalent of around the first floor, around 3 meters off the ground. Now the wide angle lens is absolutely fine and you can see more than enough, but the zoom lens, however, because of the nature of it being telephoto, you do lose quite a bit of the picture, meaning that a lot of the higher portion of what you can see with a wide angle just isn't covered with the zoom lens because it can't move the lenses any further up. Now this is in part an issue that's caused by the lack of upwards rotation, but also because where I've put it, it's looking slightly uphill, so the area naturally goes above its range quicker than if you were using it on level ground. It actually shows this in the instructions, and you can see that the wide angle has a much greater height viewing angle than the zoom lens. It's not a deal breaker, of course, because this is still an incredible camera, but I just think that it needed maybe a tiny little bit more of upwards movement. But hey, I'm probably being really nitpicky because other than these two things, it's an absolute solid addition to the Eufy range. And the best point is its price. This retails in, without discount, at £179. Now, obviously, there may be sales on, especially during the times like Black Friday and the New Year, so I would always advise heading to the link in the description to check its current price. But either way, given that this has a motion detector, dual lens, AI 360 tracking, beaming spotlight, and an eternal power, I genuinely expected it to cost double that price. So again, a huge round of applause and brownie points for Eufy for keeping this at a price point which makes this level of advanced security accessible to everyone. And because it works completely on its own and with no subscription, that's the price that you'll pay for the duration that you have the device for. You won't even be paying electricity for it either. And if you have the Homebase 3, or any other Eufy kit, it seamlessly integrates into that system for even more functionality. And it's for this reason that I would rate this super high on my list right now as one of the best home security cameras that you can buy. What do you think? Have you got any Eufy products right now? Does this look like something that tickles your pickle? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be replying to all of your messages now for the next couple of hours, so make sure you come and say hi. And if you enjoyed today's episode on the Eufy S340, please hit that thumbs up and then go and take a look at our review of the S220, where we try and trick the AI into thinking that my cameraman was a dog. And I'll see you guys back for another episode of Stu's Reviews soon.